Welcome back to BNG Hockey, where it's always black and gold. Sadly, Bruce Cassidy didn't come home with the ultimate piece of hardware this season, but he doesn't go away empty-handed as he wins the Jack Adams Award given to the best coach of the NHL season. He beats out John Tortorella of the Columbus Blue Jackets and Alain Vigneault of the Philadelphia Flyers. Let's talk about it. Since taking over for Claude Julien back in February of 2017, Bruce Cassidy has pretty much done nothing but win hockey games. He's coached in 261 games, winning 161 of those. He's lost 66 times and lost in overtime a total of 34 times. This season with the Boston Bruins, it was a shortened year, but they went 44, 14, and 12 and reached 100 points, the only team to do so before the coronavirus pause, and they end up winning the President's Trophy. Sadly, they were eliminated in the second round by the Tampa Bay Lightning, but they did make it to the Stanley Cup Final last season. Unfortunately, again, they lost to the St. Louis Blues on home ice. But all in all, Bruce Cassidy has had quite a bit of success with this Boston Bruins team, and it wasn't looking like that when he first took over. Now, as I mentioned before, Bruce Cassidy has had quite a bit of success as a Bruins head coach, but it wasn't looking that way when he took over for Claude because of the state of the team. It was a big deal moving on from Julien. He's had a fantastic career as an NHL head coach. They knew he'd be scooped up right away, eventually going back to the Montreal Canadiens, and he brought them a cup in 2011. But it was just time to move on. The fan base thought so, the organization thought so. Julien's style was kind of leaving the NHL. He was very defensive-minded, and he didn't want to play any young players. And the Bruins had quite a few young players that they were looking to put into their lineup, and Julien just wouldn't have it. So that didn't work. The Bruins needed something fresh. They needed a new look. They needed a guy who was willing to play young players and give them a shot at the NHL level. Well, in comes Bruce Cassidy. He was an assistant coach to Claude Julien that entire season. Basically one of those scenarios where as soon as Claude was going to go, you had your replacement right there on the bench. He had had some fantastic seasons with the Providence Bruins, so he had a great relationship with those young players the Bruins were looking to put into their lineup. But he had a horrible stint as head coach for the Washington Capitals, so fans were a little nervous about that because he was kind of a one-and-done head coach, so they didn't really know if he would stick. Maybe he would just be interim and finish the rest of that year, and then the Bruins would go get a real head coach after that season. This was a tough roster to take over as well. At this time, we still had guys like Jimmy Hayes, Matt Bolesky, Ryan Spooner, who never really panned out. I think we can all agree those aren't great players to get on your team. And they were getting power play time. They were getting second line minutes with David Krejci. So the roster itself wasn't fantastic, but Bruce Cassidy made it work and won a majority of those games right off the bat, enough to earn him a full-time head coaching job with the Boston Bruins. Since taking over as head coach, Bruce Cassidy's got a pretty good resume going here. He's represented the Bruins at the NHL All-Star Game, he led them to a Stanley Cup Final, and then even though they lose in Game 7 on home ice, he gets the team right back together and says, we're going to go on another run here. They don't make it all the way, maybe the pause has something to do with that, but the Bruins were an absolute wagon. They didn't have that long of an offseason, but they come back, they get the President's Trophy, and show that it wasn't a fluke that they made it all the way to the finals. Bruce Cassidy is a great coach, and the Bruins are a good team, and that is legit. I am really happy that Bruce Cassidy gets recognized here. Some people were a little frustrated that Tortorella didn't get it. They lost Panarin and Bobrovsky and Duchesne and Dzingel, some big pieces from the Blue Jackets, and then they go on and have a really good season that was kind of unexpected. I think Tortorella is certainly a good coach, but Bruce Cassidy is a great coach here. What he did was impressive, getting this team to not just be sad about losing in the finals, but say, that's okay, we'll just win one more game this season and get that Stanley Cup. They don't end up getting it, but they still have a really impressive season. Cassidy has been nominated twice now in his short career as a Bruins head coach for the Jack Adams, and now that he wins it, he can join Julien, Burns, and Sherry as the fourth Bruins head coach to do so. Those are some pretty good names that he can put himself with now. Congrats to Bruce, really happy for him. Well deserved. Let me know your thoughts. Who do you think should have won this award? Are you happy that Bruce Cassidy wins it? Leave that down below in the comment section. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a big like, and if you haven't already, subscribe.